Welcome back. That was Nagatron from Fulcrum Gaming, and yes, indeed, you are watching World of Tanks. I'm Clutch. He's Gretorp, and joining us on the set as well as Ruukil. Gretorp, before we start this first match, why don't you break down the rule sets for the esports version of World of Tanks?
Yeah, some of you guys might be new to competitive play because, of course, it operates a little bit differently than if you jump into World of Tanks right now. World of Tanks in pub play, it's 15 on 15, a big slaughterhouse a lot of times, and I love it. But competitive play, a little bit different. 7 people per team maximum. Okay, and then of that, you have 42 tier points. What that means is that each tank is assigned a tier. You could be anywhere from tier 1 to tier 10. They have to add up to 42 points.
Tier 8.
However,
tier 8 is the max.
Yes, you can't go, you can't go to tier 10 or tier 9. So that's a little bit different. But other tournaments have different rules. Sometimes it's tier 7. Sometimes it's even lower than that. In this tournament, we're going to have a best of 5 series. That means a total of 5 battles can go on per match. First 1 to 3 points wins. And how we're going to do it is if there's a draw, we just replay the same map, same positions, but you can change up your tanks.
Yep, you can change it up, and draws do happen sometimes in this game. It is not the norm. It is the exception, but when a draw does happen, it is part of the strategy. You obviously don't want to throw a game, and especially if you're turtled down in a position and your team has scouted the map and they realize that the enemy is in a similar position themselves, they're not going to try to throw the game. So it's part, it's part of it. And honestly, I feel the 7x42 brings a very, very diverse type of tank mix-ups that we're going to see here right at the beginning of this match.
Okay, I just want people to know. Randall was telling me today, which is Ruukil. Ruukil was telling me that people sometimes draw to fatigue your opponents, and I was like, I think I can become pro gamer because here's what we do. Here's what we do. Okay, I played like 2-hour games before. In different games. Why don't we set up a team NASL, and we just draw 7 games in a row, and then boom, we can take them on the 8th. We have that mental dexterity being gamers.
And then they actually put a rule in after that happens that you can't do that anymore.
That must be the most messed up thing. Randall, can you confirm, deny?
Yeah, that happens sometimes, and and I don't think I could be on a team with someone who could camp like that.
Well, I heard you're very defensive. That's why.
Who told you that?
Actually, you told me the exact opposite, but I just assumed the opposite of what you said.
That's cool, I guess.
Has the team started their tank selection? Ruukil, is that what we're going into right now?
Yeah, they have. We've actually got a few picks.
All right, let's go ahead and jump into the game right now, ladies and gentlemen. There's Team 1, Team 2. Team 1 is Ermagerd Caernervern, and the second team is Hammer Time, I believe. Team 1 will be blue. Team 2 will be red. And on the left so far, we have a T1 Cunningham, a Tier 1 light tank, and an IS-3. It's been chosen. A Tier 8, an IS-3 is one of the most powerful tanks in the game, especially for the side of esports, along with some AMX 5100s that have been chosen, some heavy tanks with auto-loaders, and another T1 with one more choice for Team 1. What do we have for Team 2, Gretorp?
All right, we got a T69, which is actually one of the standard tanks in the, I guess, tank selection. AMX 5100, 2 Tier 1s, and we still have 3 picks left. Not a lot has been shown yet, but remember, we are playing on Himmelsdorf. This influences the match a lot, and especially the tank picks. So you're not going to see something like an artillery. Artillery is, your long range can shoot anywhere. But when you have all these buildings all over the place, obviously it gets very difficult to have a line of shot. Ruukil, I want to actually throw it to you right now. What's a good way to play out Himmelsdorf if you're either of these teams, and why are they? Why is it influencing their picks? Let's say the IS-3s, the T-69s, etc.
A lot of people favor going with heavy tanks on Himmelsdorf. IS-3 is really, really popular because it has a high alpha, and then you complement that high alpha by bringing tanks like 5100s who have autoloaders, and there's a lot of damage in that combination, and that's usually enough that if you start an engagement really well, that you can finish it up and drive it home.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. I mean, some people like to use, let's say, really fast tanks in their lineups. Those WZ-132s, WZ-131s, anything like that. But on a map that's so city-driven, we can't really utilize their speed all too well. So that's why they bring it back to the heavies, a place where you can just plant down your position and slowly march across or be very deliberate with your actions. Can't really go around your opponents and flank them from the sides or the back too much. It exists, but it doesn't happen nearly as much as more open maps, maybe.
Prokhorovka?
Yes,
That's
thank
a big
you.
map, yeah.
Thank you.
You know, it's funny watching my buddy Stasis and Artosis over at the Korean League. That was one of the maps they had a difficult time pronouncing.
Can you say it again?
Prokhorovka.
Yeah.
Prokhorovka. You know what helped me is Uncle Soviet. Soviet is a member of Fulcrum Gaming. Big shout out to them and Team Simp. They've been huge helps for us as we were able to get this league underway. And they gave us some great feedback as players of what they wanted to see, the best kind of way to have the player involvement. And here at our studio, people know us for the players being first and really showing off their personalities, and they've been a huge help to us. So a big shout out to them. And it looks like we're just waiting for one more tank, I believe, to be chosen for this map. Ruukil is going to be our admin for this game, so when he gives us the go-ahead, we're going to go ahead and jump into it. I don't see any T-32s, which is actually my favorite tank right now that I'm playing.
Let's be honest, it's the best tank ever.
It is. There's no
ever
cons.
made.
There are no cons of T-32. It is.
You guys will see why a little bit later on.
We've actually been seeing the pattern of some of these professional players choosing the T-69 instead of the T-32. And like these gentlemen were saying, that autoloader functionality of any tank seems to be a huge advantage for having that burst damage. Now, the con for that is a long reload time. And as we get into the game and highlight some of these different tanks, we'll give you guys more of the specific numbers. These numbers are important because they explain the strategy of why these teams pick these tanks and how they perform in the battlefield. And when it comes down to the choices of the tanks to how they actually perform, that can make or break an engagement.
Correct. There's a lot of resources we have to keep in mind when we're going into these battles. A big key factor of that is going to be space and time. Both of these are really, really complex to actually see. You know, who has the advantage or who has the disadvantage. But space and time, we're always going to come back to these and see how they influence the matches as well. You know, at pro level play, you can have the better tanks, but sometimes if you don't have that space, if you don't have the time to utilize your advantages, you really are left with nothing. You might have to draw out.
Ruukil gave us the thumbs up, ladies and gentlemen. It's time to start the first match ever of the Wargaming.net League North America World of Tanks. Let's do this. Go ahead and hit that start button, Ruukil, as we get this underway. The first map is going to be Himmelsdorf. It's actually German for Sky Village, if you didn't know that.
Sky Village?
Yeah, Sky Village.
Well, I know why.
Why is
There's
that?
a church on the top that overlooks everything.
There
for
is a
those of you that
castle.
don't know, in pubs, right, when I was starting out like tier 1, tier 2, I didn't know about this. Then I go to the top, and I'm just like, line them up. I just have everybody walk in front of me, and I get like 5 kills. I'm like, well, I'm pretty good at this game.
I think you are, but then you actually go against pros, and it's a little bit different. Let's go ahead and take a look at what Himmelsdorf looks like.
All right, I'm going to start by actually showing you guys a little bit after we do a little intro video. So
Yeah, the beautiful intros that we have here. You can see the beautiful architecture of the German landscape of Himmelsdorf. And as Ruukil will explain to you guys, the type of city landscape provides cover that is very, very necessary. But go ahead and take it away, Ruukil, of what the different type of engagements or paths these different teams can take.
All right, well, at the beginning, right now, it looks kind of chaotic in the south, but up north, I'm seeing some pretty clear moves. We've got a bunch of tanks going towards the tank alley. That's on that 8 line that you see, guys, right below this hill. And we're going to see a lot of tanks stop, find some really nice holes in a few of these buildings here, and try and look down this line. And at the same time, in the south, we see a lot of movement in this direction. Now, that is going to mean this is going to be a little bit of a slow game. We're not going to see any pushes right at the start.
That's okay. What can you tell us already by the tank lineup right now? Because we do have slightly different lineups. Of course, the IS-3s over on the red team, played by Tanker91 and Drynitz.
You got it right.
Drynitz.
Drynitz.
Yeah.
Or is it Dranitz?
Nah, I've always said Drynitz.
Drynitz. But
Yeah.
obviously the IS-3s playing a factor. On the other side, we don't have any IS-3s.
No, man, all AMX 5100s. Again, those autoloaders, 6 shots each. But actually, for these tanks to reload, it takes over 50 seconds, so each of their shots has to count.
Sweet merciful, yeah.
Yeah.
That's why a lot of times teams end up starting to attack your opponents around, you know, like a minute 30 seconds left in the clock, because they know that's all you have. 6 shots, and that's it. You're done, right? And then it's basically chasing your opponents for a minute and 30 seconds. So a lot of times you can really utilize the time, the countdown, as you can see in the top right-hand corner. It's right now at 8 minutes. Of course, we have a long ways away until it's 1 minute, 2 minute in. But it's important to note stuff like that.
Now, this is a position that you talked about, this castle position. We're looking right now at Ertai in the T-69. And he's simply just scouting this position. He's a quick little tank, not the fastest on the field, one of the best medium tanks to use in the game by far, especially at the 7x42 format in the esports leagues. And he's simply peeking over the crest of the hill there and seeing that T1 Cunningham scout his position. He's going to commit a little bit more here, using the castle to his left-hand side as cover. And again, the beginning of this game, it's all about knowing the positioning of your teammates and getting in good positions themselves.
Yeah, I really like Declan of Death's position right there. He had a clear way to get out of there, a retreat path, which is so important. However, Kriegsmaster is in a little bit of trouble right now. He is in a position where he's spotting 2 tanks. But Ruukil, tell me about it. Like, why is he going so heavy into their opponent's territory?
He was actually doing something called proxy spotting, which is using a mechanic in the game where when you get within 50 meters of another tank, no matter what, you spot him. It's like being on the other side of a building and hearing him, because tanks aren't exactly quiet. So right now, he's going to use that to perma-spot Kimsey and Darasta, so they stay lit. And they can be kept track of. They're going to have to back off in order to go dark. And actually, you're seeing Kimsey trying to get as much distance as he can, but he's not going to get more than 50 meters away. They're going to stay lit, probably, and we're going to see, I'm hoping we're going to see, out of Hammer Time, some kind of move here. I'm thinking they'll try to push up, knowing where these 5100s are, and try to make some kind of move and head.
That's right. If you know there are 2 tanks over all the way on the eastern side, you know there's 2 less tanks that can be everywhere else. So take all your tanks, push into a single direction, and you can take space. Now, the one thing you have to keep in mind is you might take pot shot damage. You're trading a little bit of space for a little bit of HP. You have to make sure that space that you're taking is worth the cost. So we're going to see how they approach this west-hand side. And of course, if they can take out any tanks, it's largely in their favor.
Yeah, the AMX 5100 is just in a parking position right now. You'll see a lot of tanks in this game use the buddy system, and they do that for a variety of reasons. First up, they share the same HP pool, which is very important. But right now, we're seeing a big push coming from the red team. Which direction are they going?
Yeah, it's important to note Declan of Death did end up getting taken out, so really unfortunate they don't have any spotters over on the far east side. That leaves them very open. They can be fast capped really, really badly. And obviously they might have to play a little bit more defensive now.
And here's that move you were just talking about. We're actually seeing Ermagerd Caernervern pushing down the tank alley on the 8 line. So Kriegermaster is going down.
Brilliant.
Dominated.
Brilliant.
Yeah, there we go. That's
that was
both
awesome.
T1s down. That's a lot of map control.
Absolutely. That's what we were talking about. You know, it might seem so small that Declan of Death was taken out, but just that fact, it forces them back. On top of that, there was a spotter up in the around B2 area. That gave them the trigger to push up the eastern flank and start just taking space. You can see there's an incredible amount of space control for Team 1 over, of course, the red team.
Yeah, those AMX 50s, Tommy Cannon 6'9", they're all moving into position to get that cap point, and from there they're going to pressure the red team in order to either advance to the enemy capture point as well or come back and answer that type of aggression.
Yep. I think we're going to see a bit of a cap screening here. We're going to see, I think maybe Tommy Cannon. No, he's going to avoid the cap for as long as he can before getting on. He's going to start hiding behind this church while other members of his team screen for him with covering fire.
Oh, beautifully done. So now you can see the position they have to get into just to hit Tommy Cannon. It's going to be very difficult. Of course, they can be replaced with a T1 as well. Shots are being fired. Clutch, who's coming out of this?
Well, Tommy Cannon's in a great position. The shots that are being traded from those IS-3s. With that slope armor, they can really pack a punch, or at least take a punch from those AMX 5100s. Now, since the AMX 50s, we can't tell if they have to reload or not. I'm going to go ahead and jump on top of the match right here. I can't tell if he has to reload or not, or what he has loaded. They have 6 shots once again with the over 50-second reload time. Nails the IS-3 on the side. One of the only weak points of that turtle of a tank. Now Tommy Cannon is being pressured, but the death.
Very nice. And you can see Zazie, Drynitz, and Photo Finish are all in the open. This was forced. They had to come out here to stop the cap. Now there's going to be a huge collapse into that position, and you can already see people are being focused down. The IS-3 now is probably going to be the next attacker. No, it's
Photo
this
Finish
T69.
is probably coming next. No, but he'll finish off.
Very nice.
Yep, that is great.
Still a little bit of, I guess, stagnation now. Things are going to back off. Pretty good trade overall, but let's be honest, Drynitz and Photo Finish are pretty far behind in this. It is a total of 4 tanks to 2. Of those 4 tanks, it's 3 tier 8s. AMX 5100s, they're going to take this time to just back up, probably reload, and as soon as they do, they're going to do that same screen to take the cap and force an engagement.
I'm really thinking Drynets and Photo Finish don't have much of a chance at this point. You've got Durasta in a 5100, Trouble 2 in a 5100, and Kemsey in a 5100. Once they're reloaded, that's so much damage, and I'm pretty sure they're not going to be able to
But
get
this makes tons of sense right now. What are they doing? They're going around because they know the screen can happen again. That's under the range of their opponents. You can see that it's coming up right now. So they're trying to flank an AMX 5100, maybe take a quick kill, and then go from there. But of course, we have Kemsey that's in really good position. Again, they're going to have to walk into that flag cap area, the open area, and get shot down.
And they're pressuring their opponent. They honestly don't necessarily have to, since the rule set of the game is if your team has an 8 tier point advantage, if you have killed enough tanks on the enemy team that you have 8 points or more, it is a victory if the time does run out. With 2 minutes left on the clock, Drynets trying to do any damage he can to that IS-3 against those AMX 5100s. Another AMX goes down, and Photo Finish backs up the T-69. Drynets, one more shot, he goes down. Gets the kill, Durasta backs up and continues the capture. 37% is left, and that is the game with a complete victory, destroying the rest of their team.
Very, very well played. You know, you mentioned it. Yes, they could have just sat back, and they didn't even have to cap. But the fact of the matter is, when you threaten that cap, you're still going to put an engagement that you will have positive EV, or you will, most of the time, take that battle, you know, maybe 80% of the time or 90% of the time, rather than sitting back. And when you sit back, you know, your opponents can come at you at multiple angles. And because you have such limited turrets, they can't focus everywhere.
Yeah.
So you can be pot-shotted, you can be picked off, and then potentially, you know, all it takes is one tank to die. All of a sudden, it's a drawn game. So I like what they did by taking the cap, forcing the fight, you know, obviously taking the first win.
And also, you're always in a powerful position when you have to make your opponent make the movement, when you have to force your opponent out of hiding, when you have to force your opponent to attack. And again, that's another level, another layer of the type of strategy we'll see here at the Wargaming.net League World of Tanks.
Yeah, let's
for North
actually...
America. Ruukil, you're the expert, man.
Ruukil, tell us about it.
What went wrong, what went right? What happened in that match?
All right, well, that match, you saw the 2 T1s go down first, which gave a whole lot of control to Ermagerd Caernervern. Now, they took that control, and they actually pushed it down the 8 line, which they knew was open, and then pushed into the backfield where they took control of the enemy cap, forced them to return, and then did tons of damage when the enemy was forced to come stop cap by killing Tommy Cannon. Now, they killed him, but the amount of damage that traded back and forth was certainly in the favor of Ermagerd Caernervern.
So that line seems, I mean, after they lose the 2 T1s, the line seems really, really weak, obviously, because they're completely out of position. Do you think they had to pressure up a little bit faster on the western side to really take advantage before the T1 goes down all the way on the eastern side? Or was that play correct? Did they have to slowly aggress up? Because they know an IS-3 is all the way on the eastern side, up in the church. Along with that, you have 2 tanks that are right near the other tier 1. Is it just they were too inactive for too long?
Yeah, I think Hammer Time probably could have made a move a little bit sooner in that match, and they probably could have taken control. But because EC took control of that map, they actually they set the pace for the whole map, and you saw how that played out.
Yes.
Well, that was only battle number 1 in a best of 5. We'll see who takes the next one. We're going to take a quick commercial break. We come back, more World of Tanks action. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back to World of Tanks. I'm Clutch. He's Gretorp, and joining us as well is the man with the plan. He knows so much about World of Tanks that every day he teaches us something new. That is Ruukil. The first match, the inaugural match, it is finally over, man. So
Dude,
much
that
hard
was
work.
a good.
We did it.
Boom, boom, up high.
Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about. You know, one thing I have to say about that last match, my God, it was really action-packed for the first one. We got lucky, Clutch. Let's be honest, we got lucky.
And honestly, the setup for these matches, the way that it's played, it's not super high actions per minute. It's not super fast shooting. It's positional play.
Yes.
It's coordinating with your teammate. And then when you go in for the blow, that's when the action happens. And honestly, man, those AMX 5100s, I need to play more of those because they are a powerhouse.
Dude, I used to play chess pretty competitively. I played it at like state level. I wanted to compete at national level for a while. I was training with the national champion for a while. Chess, you have 3 hours for each side, okay? This is a much faster chess, let me tell you, okay? That's why I love it. The position, the strategy, you have to be decisive with a lot of things. You can't let it go and just be like, okay, let me just think about this a little bit. No, 30 seconds, and that could be the difference between, you know, having your opponents have a loaded gun or not. Yep. That's a big, big difference. So these teams need to be a lot more decisive if they want to be in the tournament.
Yeah, exactly. This is a single elimination qualifier. They will have a second chance in qualifier number 2, having taking place later on in the month. Let's go ahead and jump into the game screen and see the type of tanks that they're selecting. Ruukil, you're going to guide us through here once again. On the left, we see the T69 and the T1s already chosen. T1 is pretty much a staple because of the tier point limit with that T1. But it's not a tank that you need to underestimate, correct? I mean, it definitely can do a lot of different things.
For 1 point, there's a whole lot of work you can do with the T1. I mean, spotting, occasional damage, and because everyone brings T1s, you actually have T1 on T1 fights. So being a very good T1 player actually means a whole lot for a team.
Hey, Ruukil, I just killed 6 people with my T1 in the last game. It wasn't on Angst, but it was very similar, let's say that. Would I be a good competitive player? Because I think if I applied that logic and killed 6 tanks in this, we just got 1 more to go.
No.
How dare you?
He took your logic and just threw it away.
I just can't accept that. I mean, you play pub matches, but here, this is different. This is different.
Excuse me.
Different.
In this, I only have to worry about 7 tanks. In pub matches, I have to worry about 15. 15 versus 1, baby.
Well, but the amount of skill of those 6
I'm just kidding, guys.
Let's go ahead and go back into the game
you can't be good yet.
And talk about the rest of the tanks that have been chosen. Now, how it works in the qualifiers, it goes 2 on Team 1 and then 2 on Team 2 and back and forth until the final tanks are chosen. Going down the list here, after the T69 and the T1s, we have the AMX 5100 again and a T69. On the Team 2, we have a T1 and IS-3 and the AMX 5100. Plus the T1, and again an AMX 5100. These autoloaders versus an IS-3, you know, I wonder, the choices that are made in a city-type map, like we saw in Himmelsdorf. Angst is more or less city. I mean, you have open fields on the eastern side, but these tanks can absorb so many shots, Gretorp.
Yes, they can. But the IS-3s, I would say, are better city brawlers than being out in the open, which does kind of show their hand a little bit. Angst is a map where there's an open field on the east side. On the west side, it's very city-driven. So it could be telling. Ermagerd
Caernervern.
Thank you.
There you go.
Thank you.
If you want, you can call him EC for short.
EC. It could be.
That's what I've been going with.
EC their hand a little bit prematurely. I would have loved if that IS-3 was chosen a little bit later, one of the last picks, actually the last pick. I think that would have been a lot better, possibly, just so that they don't get maybe counter-picked or something.
I mean, it's possible. Part of the mind games that happens at the beginning of these matches, ladies and gentlemen, is you get to choose whatever tanks you want in the 2 tanks you get to choose. A lot of times you'll see the T1s immediately because they know you're going to have one for the most part. And in my experience watching a lot of different leagues, they'll have the SPGs chosen last, which stands for self-propelled gun. Also, the artilleries is what they're known for. And in a match on Angst, I actually have seen a couple matches that have used artillery.
Well, Fulcrum is like gigantic with using 2 arties on this map.
Team Bison, so they should go by as well.
They're going to get nerfed, by the way.
I know. There will be some patch changes happening here pretty soon. Wargaming has more information about that. Looks like Ruukil is giving us the indication that we're ready to go. And we do have an artillery on the team. Look at that. That's awesome. Go ahead, Ruukil, start it up. The map is going to be on Angst. We're going to have Team 1 at the top, Team 2 at the bottom. Let's go ahead and show you guys what Angst is all about. Okay, we got it. Angst is beautiful map. Angst is definitely a beautiful map.
Absolutely.
I believe that was Lenin. The statue of Lenin in the map there.
There is a Lenin statue right in the middle. And so I'm going to detail for you guys a little bit about Angst. You've got a nice train track line out here, splitting the middle, which divides it generally into 2 kinds of strategies. You've got a field type strats, and you've got strats that go towards the city. Now, I'm seeing an east side strat and a west side strat, so I'm feeling like we're going to get another one of those matches where teams are going to the opposite sides of the map, and they're going to find each other a little bit late.
Well, we do see that happen a lot of times. Sometimes they'll have actually a scouting tank hang back on the side flank to see what's happening.
Already a big pick right now. T69 is able to see the T32 go to the east side. That is obviously a cue. What's going on? It's not 100%, but you can see they're going to take some assumptions from that. And I'm sure that makes Tanker 91 and Drynit be a little bit more prudent. Of course, they could be walking into potential tanks, but they don't want to completely push forward just yet.
Yep. Right at the beginning here, we see Whiskey Dodd going into a very popular bush position. That's going to give him some great vision on the east side of the map. He's going to be able to see a large portion of this field, even though there's a lot of bush cover, and also into this wood yard over here, where he's going to have a good view that the rest of his team can come and support him if anything happens.
Sure.
Meanwhile, on the other side of the map, we've got a different kind of spread.
Yeah.
We have a different type of selection. There's actually a tank destroyer in this map.
Yeah, actually, that surprised me. Scharnhorst is actually one of the few people who actually plays a tank destroyer really well. And he plays that JP2, which is a fast, powerful tank destroyer. And it's going to hit hard, it's going to hit fast, and he's probably one of the only people I'm going to see play this tank in the whole league.
Okay, so for people like me and other people that don't really know what the weaknesses of this tank destroyer is, can you please just shed some light when we're talking about competitive play and how it interacts with this map?
Yeah, generally, a tank destroyer is considered a little bit lesser next to a heavy tank because while it does have a great gun on it, it doesn't have a turret, which means that in a lot of situations, for example, against scouts and mediums and the right maneuvers, a tank destroyer can be rendered useless.
And so far, he's been simply shooting any type of cover in front of him so he can get that crossfire initially when he wants it. The type of cover that is in the game with a great physics engine, I must add, allows you to hide behind a variety of different cover, but also houses can be destroyed by artillery fire or any kind of shells. It's dependent on the type of houses they are. If they're made of brick, really they're not going to fall down. But using those physics to your advantage and knowing when to take cover and what cover can be destroyed, again, another layer, another level strategy in World of Tanks.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So let's take a look at the scouts really quick. Declan of Death is pushing up on the east side pretty heavily here. You can see that they are pinging over in the center, just really prudent in moving forward. Remember, they don't know where their opponents are for sure. They lost track of them a while ago. We haven't seen them, trade any sort of intelligence. So as it stands, it looks like the two IS-3s are going to push up, trying to take a little bit more center control. This is what we normally see, though, on Angst. Both these players, or both these teams, split the map because the train tracks, you don't really want to cross them and be attacking at the same time. When you move across those train tracks, your reticle just goes up and down and up and down, and you can't really aim anything. So if there's any tanks on those train tracks, they're not going to be doing anything for a big fight.
Well, it seems like they're trying to set up any sort of positions of crossfire across those train tracks. It's going to be a no man's land for a while. Ruukil, your thoughts right now? We're halfway through the match. It seems like red team's going to push up. Is this a mistake, or are they going to have the advantage of being aggressive?
Well, right now we're seeing a kind of, I'll call it a turtle, out of Ermagerd Caernervern. They're playing really, really conservatively. They've got a tank destroyer, which means they can do that and be very successful. Map control definitely goes to Hammer Time, which means that if they play it right, they can take apart Ermagerd slowly, and then at a later time move in when they have the advantage, destroy them all.
Yeah.
Maybe take the game.
You know, a lot of times when you do have very stagnant positions, arties break that up. But if you don't have arties, a lot of times you'll look for that screen cap. Can we do a screen cap on a map like Angst?
Yeah, they're not going to be able to pull any of that off. They'd have to cross the train tracks in order to do that. And for the most part, I've never had much success in my experience screening cap when you're already on the other side of the
I mean, you can
tracks.
really see the openness, and there's no big building to hide behind, but we
Shots
do have...
fired. Whiskey Dodd was taking a bit of an advantage here. A little bit of aggression. The T1's fighting it out. One more shot. That 12 HP left on Declan of Death. Whiskey Dodd, 30 HP on himself. Trying to line up that shot just behind the cover, but the T-32's moving in. My favorite tank, Tommy Cannon, 69.
That is a lot of map control lost, because now Ermagerd Caernervern actually has control of the entire east side of the map. So they're going to be able to do something with that, where a moment ago I would have said Hammer Time had a nice advantage. Now it's just an even split. But we've actually, are those tanks crossing the south?
Wow, yes they are. Okay, so this is really gigantic. What Hammer Time's looking for is a big sandwich. They're trying to come in from multiple sides and really overextend, I would say, the tank destroyer, if anything. But if they get spotted once, what's going to happen is EC is just going to completely isolate one of the sides, take them out, and obviously they will have not only a big DPS advantage, but they'll have a big number advantage. So you have to be very careful when executing the strat. It's pretty risky, if I do say so myself.
Yeah, it is. If Ermagerd Caernervern notices when they're split up, they could jump on some tanks, and that could be the match.
Yeah.
But it looks like I think they're grouping up, crossing the tracks in the south, and we'll see a fight as I would have hoped to see it at the beginning of the match.
Yeah, I mean, they're really losing a lot. Obviously, they'll be pushing into a position they don't really know about. They already lost one T1, so Hammer Time not looking great in this upcoming fight if they do choose to fight on the open field. But it doesn't mean that they're completely counted out. Obviously, there's a little bit of RNG that comes into it, but also you can focus a little bit better than your team. You can hide a little bit better than your opponents and get advantages like that.
Yeah, but at the same time, now the T-32s, the 5100 and the T-69 are crossing across the north. So now the teams are flip-flopping the sides of the map. Where we had Ermagerd Caernervern in the east before, we've got only the tank destroyer, Sharn.
Oh, T1!
T1 going to go down here in a moment. Let's see.
Surrounded, and he gets taken down. Now
there
the push,
we go.
like you gentlemen said, about the opposite side of the map is happening from the blue team here. Trouble 2, Tommy Cannon 69, Kemsey, and Erkte are going to lead the charge heading to the south portion on the opposite side of the train tracks. Again, the red team, NYPD, Zazie, Liebestad are pushing on their side as well. This is going to be a very intriguing type of matchup since that tank destroyer is just above the hill, and being land some shots will be huge.
He is all alone, though.
Yeah. Absolutely. That was a little bit weird to have both T1s in the same area, but here we go. The engagement started, or at least they spotted the tank destroyer, and
Sharn's going to be able to distract Zazie and Liebstrud, while Kemsey, Tommy, and the rest of the team aren't going to be able to take on these IS-3s. While they do that, I think we're going to actually see an advantage go towards Ermagerd as they take down the IS-3s. Then they're going to be able to clean up, but Sharn is going to go down. That's going to be really unfortunate. And this is what I'm telling you, what I was telling you about earlier, about a TD without a turret being caught out and outmaneuvered. That was Sharn. He got a lot of good shots off. He put out good damage, but it still wasn't enough. And actually, the advantage that I thought we were gonna see might not happen.
Yeah, you know, Drynets did go down there, traded obviously for that tank destroyer, but Tanker has a little bit of damage on, but you can see even the T-32 over here on Tommy Cannon 69, he has really low HP, so you need to be super careful. At this point, he's going to be a spotter for a little bit longer, not much longer.
Yep. At this point, they're going to jump all over Tommy Cannon. There you go. And there's not actually enough damage put out on the rest of the team. They're all at decent amounts of health. And now that they're down on numbers, Kemsey right there going down.
No, T-32.
Yeah.
The IS-3 still alive around the side of the train track, still doing a lot of damage and holding on to dear life. Was able to continue that harassment that allowed his teammates to move in on that flank and do enough damage to kill one of those tanks. A good patient play and using those railroad cars as great cover.
Yep. Erkte and Trouble 2 are going to try and put as much distance as they can between themselves and the enemy and try and possibly draw this out. I think that's probably the only chance they're going to get. So maybe not. Erkte looks like he might go back and try and engage, maybe catch someone out and do some damage. But we have 50 seconds left in the match. That's not enough time.
That's right. And there is the rule of if you are more than 8 tier points or 8 or...
Sound it out. 8 tier points.
More than 7 tier points, actually. Greater than or equal to 8. You will win the match if it counts down to 0. I don't know why. I'm like, I was a statistics major, and I can't even say that.
It's okay, man. I have trouble dancing, too, and I was an acting major. It's all good. The blue tanks are moving in, trying to get the capture on that position. Again, forcing out the red here. Blue base actually under attack. They're the ones going to get the capture, so the blue are moving in to try to capture themselves. However, since there's 3 captures on the opposite side, that means they will capture 3 times faster than just 1 tank. They have 10 seconds left to go. It looks like...
Not going to matter because time is up, ladies and gentlemen. We are over with that second game, second battle.
Yeah, looks like Hammer Time took it because they had an 8-point advantage.
Yeah, so
that's right. They did have those 8 points.
I want to
so
ask you, is it the fact that those IS-3s, because they were in the center there, the AMX 50-100s, they had shots, but they're shooting the track, they're shooting underneath the train, so obviously RNG will hit the trains. Is the fact that they're taking advantage of the autoloader and not wanting them to actually use up all their rounds, that they're a little bit prudent, they couldn't take advantage, kill both IS-3s, and because of that they lose their tank destroyer for relatively nothing?
Yeah, they didn't engage enough in that fight. They probably could have jumped on those IS-3s, caught them out alone, and destroyed them, then maybe backed off, and that would have given them possibly enough of an advantage.
So do you think they should have came around and crossed the train tracks just to have clear line sight on them?
I'm actually really not sure. I think if they'd gone all the way across, they might have gotten themselves caught out and surrounded because they wouldn't have killed the IS-3s in time. Tommy in the tank destroyer was destroyed. People would have come back, and we would have seen them surrounded and destroyed. But they should have really focused more on trying to get that damage that they had in the autoloaders onto those IS-3s, and they didn't quite get it there for a number of reasons, just simply because of I think they were wary of the position of enemy tanks that they didn't know were actually going after Tommy.
Yeah,
until, Sharn until it was too late.
When you have that type of composition with a tank destroyer, you want to use it to its greatest advantage. It doesn't have a high mobility rate. Its armor's pretty weak. But if you can pretty much funnel or tunnel your enemies into a specific area, and that tank destroyer can rain down on them since it has a very, very long view range. It's almost like a sniper in this type of game. That's what they were, to me, trying to press for, but the red team would not take the bait whatsoever for it.
Yeah, can we go into the game, my game screen real quick? I want to just focus on this. The tank destroyer didn't actually do terribly bad. He had 930 hit points of damage, so it's not like he was completely worthless. I want to look at these AMX 5100s. You can see, like, they're not doing nearly as much damage as they should be. The T69 not doing nearly as much damage. So I really felt like they should have been able to jump on those two IS-3s to make up for losing such a gigantic part of their damage output. But, you know, it's just those little tiny things. That's what I'm saying. 5, 10, 20, 30 seconds. That can determine. I don't know for sure, of course. You would know a lot better. Even you don't know for sure. But
sometimes there are things that can extend a match, and sometimes within that little bit of time, like people dying, you can see a huge change happen in a map. So those those few seconds, I've seen huge turnarounds happen before, and I hate to sound absolute when I say time is. Sometimes there's a few seconds you can slip in there at the end of a match with a cap.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
All right, well, that was an action-filled match toward the end there. We're going to take a quick little break. We come back, battle number 3 of match number 1 of the Season 1 qualifier. Stay tuned. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Wargaming.net League North America World of Tanks. That was quite a shot. It's like skeet shooting.
that was actually me.
Oh, okay.
Me and
Who was the other tank?
Mr. Bitter.
Oh, I see. Okay. All right. All right. We just finished battle number 2 of match number 1 of the qualifiers. As a reminder, these are just the qualifiers, guys. The actual season begins July 11th for the league play. But we wanted to broadcast the qualifiers because it's so much fun. It allows so many of you who are watching to get to know these teams, for us to broadcast these teams, see some different play like that tank destroyer. And we want to remind everybody as well to make sure to follow us on Twitter, WGLNA. We'll be talking about some cool prizes here pretty soon.
Yeah, be active in Twitter, guys, because that will enable you to potentially be in the running for a little bit of gold.
A little bit of gold.
A little bit of gold.
Money.
Also, I think they said they will give out like free beer and hot wings and stuff like that.
No.
No?
I think it's just premium
I think it's just, okay.
Yeah. Maybe at the live event. We'll see.
No, I was wrong.
Oh, okay.
I was
All
wrong.
right, I was confused. Okay. Well, as soon as they're ready for the tank selection, we're going to go ahead and jump in. Ruukil's joining us. You know, it's such a blast to have you these last couple days, man. We were excited when we found out you're going to be flying in. Because as much as I love World of Tanks and everyone else here, we're like, man, we need somebody that really, really, really has a lot of fun with the game that can teach us. It can teach us his ways. And you've been able to do that so far. Is it the hat? Is that how
Some people say it's the hat.
It's the
Some people
powers.
say it's that.
Yeah, people don't know this, but before he came here, we were all, you know, playing together with just tier 1s. And we thought we were going to win. You know, it was really clever us. You know, we make our own tournament. And then we win our own tournament. But then we found out there's things better than the T1 Cunningham.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Ruukil.
Yeah.
I still don't believe it, but thank you.
Okay. I convinced you at least that the T32 was the best. I mean,
No cons for the T-32.
It didn't take
There's
long.
No cons.
But
That's the first thing you should go for in the tech tree.
You guys will see soon enough.
Yeah,
We'll talk about the T-32, but we're going to go into map number 3. I want to talk a little bit about the map. And it has a beautiful name.
Prokhorivka.
Okay, I know the history about this, okay? This was the last German and Russian exchange of big tanks. It happened in, I believe, 3 square miles, and they did not use artillery during it because it was a close-up battle. Now, the Germans had better tanks, but guess what the Russians did? They rammed.
Oh, nice!
This is Mr. Vitter's favorite thing. He loves to ram tanks, okay? He could be a T1 against an IS-3, right? He will wait on top of that bridge just to jump off to ram that IS-3. That's when they introduced the ramming. Russians would kamikaze themselves onto the Germans, and it really showed a big victory to say, Germans, lay off, bro. Soviet Russia, we know what we're doing.
They locked it down for that
Tanks
map.
own you.
Soviet Russia. Nice work. Let's go ahead and jump into the game screen here as we look at the different tanks that are chosen. At Team 1, we have a T-69 and AMX 1390. AMX 1390, this is a tank I've thoroughly enjoyed getting to know and playing. Very fast, French-made tank. I'll actually go into the stats more. And another AMX 1390 and a T-69. And the score is currently 1-1 right now. Looking at the other team, what they've chosen so far, the WZ-132. This was the first tank completely produced in China. I think it's a really cool note. T-69. You didn't know that? Well,
no,
now
you're just telling me for the
now
first time.
everyone knows.
I now
TIL.
Today I learned.
Yeah.
Man.
Prokhorivka features very open map.
Yes.
So this is why we see so many light tanks, so many fast tanks, mobile tanks. You don't want to be caught flat-footed, of course. If you have something slow and big like KV-5, that thing is going
KV-5 has
to be
a lot of hit points, but
it is the Zangief of tanks, okay?
The Zangief
but
of tanks.
It's also walking across a flat field. Well, not flat completely, but it's walking across a field that you're going to take a lot of shots in your little R2-D2. And nobody wants to shoot an R2-D2.
You know what I would love to see is a 5-tank TOG-2 push.
I
I
don't
want to
know.
see someone bring TOGs.
I don't know anything better.
You've got to be
Too.
joking.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Excuse
you're
me.
joking.
How dare you?
Well,
How
you
dare
guys,
you?
you guys
I saw
are-
this awesome clip online. That seems overpowered.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just it's
Yeah.
around. I don't know numbers for exactly, but it's around 20 to 30,000 hit points. That's just in a stream of tanks.
That doesn't sound right at all.
It might not to you.
Yeah?
It might not to me, but it sounds good when I say it.
Yeah, I guess it does.
All right, let's take a look at Team 2, what they've chosen. After the WZ-132 and the T-69, they got the Bison. Team Bison, the Tier 2 SPG. We'll go into those stats when the game starts as well. Another T1, a T-71. This is a tank that I've seen more and more used by the pros. It is some of the biggest treads I've ever seen for its size, but it can drift. Not as well as the T-52, but having any type of tank drift in this game is a lot of fun to see and to experience. T-69 is chosen, and another AMX 1390. Like you said, Gretorp, they're choosing more of the fast, quick tanks. Maybe don't have the best amount of armor, but they have some good traverse speed and get around, especially the WZ-132. The big advantage of the WZ-132 is it has better traverse speed than the AMX 1390s.
Yeah, the other option they could have done instead of the T-71 would be the WZ-131. That's something common that I've seen before. And they're pretty interchangeable, but I want to actually ask you, Ruukil, what are the advantages of having a T-71 over something like WZ-131?
I actually think that's a decent choice to make. The 131 I like. I think it's great. I actually like the premium tank version just to play in pubs. But the Type 62 is a fantastic tank. It's brilliant. And the 131 is an upgraded version of that same tank. It's a great tank, and the T-71 is also really, really fun to play. It has a great autoloader, and the pen on those rounds is superb. You can get away with a lot without even using gold rounds on that thing.
Well, let's see how it
Whiskey Dot has
performs,
brought
man.
one.
Let's see how it performs. Go ahead and start the match.
All right.
Players are ready. They gave us an indication that they're ready. I believe the audience is ready. They're telling us on Twitter and all through the chat that they're ready. And Prokhorivka is going to be the map. Like you said, Gretorp, it's a pretty wide open space. There's artilleries that are chosen on both sides. But let's go ahead and give you guys a preview of what Prokhorivka looks like.
All right, starting off with Telestration, I'll detail you guys real quick common scout runs. Now, I'm expecting to see one of our scouts come up and try to use this ridge efficiently and either do a loop either of these two directions and then return to base. And we'll see both from about both sides. It's not uncommon to see tanks actually cross the tracks and return that way. It also looks like we're going to see one already go west and the other go towards the east, but they're both going to stay on the west side of the tracks. I find that the tracks are a nice divider in the entire map, and teams generally try and choose between their sides on that.
Absolutely. You definitely don't want to be playing on top of the tracks, but already we're having our first confrontation. AMX 1390 is going to drill into another AMX 1390 with a WZ-132. WZ-132 is being focused down pretty badly. There it goes. Wow. First blood already going to hammer time against the Colonel. Really unfortunate. That's a pretty big blow because the AMX 1390, he's about half life. Actually, two of them are about half life, but you can see the distribution of damage versus one tank. It's 0 tanks versus 1 tank. That's an amazing trade for hammer time.
This is actually a really aggressive move that I'm seeing, and I'm actually liking it a lot. You sent Trouble 2 on up there along with the Colonel, but unfortunately we lost the Colonel. If he'd made it over, there would have been a significant serious map control going to Ermagerd Caernervern right there. They've got 3 tanks caught into a little hole right there in the middle of the map, and Artie's going to be able to rain in on them.
Absolutely.
This kind of move actually protects their own Artie. Tommy is very safe at this point. But at the same time, is that something in the backfield?
Shots fired, Trouble 2 taking some damage from Lieberstad. Lieberstad might get flanked from the rear of Whiskey Dodd, but he's moving back in his T-71. Trouble 2 trying to line up a shot against Lieberstad. Lieberstad has one more hit left, 40 hit points. Trouble 2 lines up the shot with patience just over the crest of the hill. He takes a hit himself, gets the kill though, and he rolls through the bushes to try to avoid the enemy fire to his right flank. He will completely turn around, taking some more shots. He's been tracked. Uses a repair kit, but it's not enough. He goes down.
Yeah, you can see, unfortunate, that small little RNG that happened. He had 40 life left, wasn't enough. He tried to go for that extra shot and put himself in a very precarious situation, ultimately losing a full tank, a straight-up trade 1-for-1, but it was not worth it. Hammer time still ahead. And look at that. They've been so lucky. AMX 1390, 47 hit points left. Absolutely incredible.
Yep, I'm seeing Tommy Cannon take a lot of shots, and he really could be putting out a lot of damage with that Bison. And Drynitz has a lot more potential to do some great damage. His tank, great reload, great hits with just the HE rounds, whereas Tommy has to make a direct hit every time to do damage. He's loading all heat rounds on that, which don't have any splash.
T-69 still alive here. Go ahead and jumping in to the actual stats for this tank. It's made in the United States, built in the 1950s, HP 1350, top speed 51.5 kilometers an hour. So it does pack a punch, but at the same time, it's not the quickest tank, but quick enough for its size. Rate of fire, 7.27 rounds per minute. Has very high sloped armor thickness with an excellent view range of 400 meters. Unfortunately, has a bit of a large profile and slower speed. The design work for this tank, historical fact, began in May of 1951 with the first T-69 model released at the beginning of 1955. Shots fired between this model tank, trying to hit Tanker 91 and the other T-69, 280 versus 850 hit points. Another advantage hit, and Tay and the T-69 gets the kill against Tanker 91. Good flanking position.
Definitely a big life advantage coming in for EC. But still, they can't be too aggressive. Remember, they do have a lot invested into the artillery, and that's why they're just sitting back a little bit. They don't want to go into a very precarious situation. Actually, they have such little HP still.
Well, the Bison is actually moving up too. I want to note that real quick. The Bison, Tommy Cannon 69, moving further halfway up the map and trying to push against the front lines of their enemy. Ruukil, go ahead.
Yeah, Whiskey Dodd in the T-71, who is probably the most important person, I think, right now on the map. He is the scout, the only scout left for Ermagerd Caernervern, and he's trying to probe around on the east side of the map, using the tracks as some really good cover to keep him safe. And he's looking for Zazzy and NYPD, who are, well, one of them is close by, but I'm not sure. Oh, there is Zazzy right there. Whiskey's going to line up the shot.
Oh.
Miss. Let's see if he can.
There he gets him.
There
he gets him, and that T-69, man, he is doing work around that rock. He's got a number of kills here. Well, he's got one at least, but he's done a lot of damage throughout this throughout this game.
And now, as Whiskey moves in, we see that the artillery on Hammer Time has actually moved south. So he might be able to avoid Whiskey if he doesn't keep going south and expects him to be over in.
The Lorraine gets the kill. Nice shot from the artillery.
That's a pretty good shot right there. Got to give him that.
Let's see the T-71 Whiskey Dot a little bit of in a panic mode, trying to stay away from the actual range of the Lorraine. However, the Lorraine can track him if he is scouted.
Yeah, but Whiskey knows exactly where that shot come from. He saw the tracer. His allies communicated to him. It's obvious. Whiskey knows right where that already is, and he's going for it. There he goes.
One shot, one kill. That's all it takes. Of course, there's only this AMX 1390 left. Not going to be much more time. I mean, even if he unloads his entire clip, there's still enough HP to take advantage of that.
Tries to line up the shot against the AMX 1390.
He could still clutch it, though, if he does it right. Whiskey, if he doesn't make all of these shots count, and then on top of that, NYPD, I mean, you know, just to give him a chance, I mean, he has one. He can kill a T-69, a Bison, and a T-71 if he plays this right. I mean, he doesn't have much of a chance now after all the hits he took, but, I mean, 1390 could clutch this.
T-71 using its remarkable speed to try to find his opponent behind any of the bushes. Bit of a serpentine type position here. Pathier actually took down one of the telephone poles. I'd like to tell everyone that when you do hit a tree or telephone pole, even though you're not spotted, your enemy can see that they're looking in that direction. He's continually trying to inch closer and closer. Looks like he might just go all the way towards the capture point. Depends. Oh, nope, he's going to wait for him. He sees him. His tracks are hit. Lines up the shot.
9 hit points.
One more.
And he's going to get it.
AMX 1390.
All right.
There we go.
So a little bit of life left. Of course, he can't get shot again, whether it be a grazed by the Bison or, of course, directly by Ertai. There's no chance that he can get hit at all. But still, if he can take out Ertai, you know, maybe he can, of course, maneuver around a Bison. This could be a little interesting.
I think he'll try and use the same kind of trick again. Wait in the bush.
Yep.
Wait until Ertai goes past him, and then try and jump on him again. But he can't use the same bush again. I don't think Ertai will let that happen.
The Bison's in good position to get the shot once Ertai's able to spot him. So you have 2 points of pressure going against the red team.
It's literally just a graze by this Bison. The Bison will pen on this AMX 1390.
No problem with that.
Shots fired. Ertai has been hit. Sees that it's from the left. Hit again, taking even more damage. His enemy is way behind the bushes. He sees the tree fall. He sees the tree fall. He knows he's back there. He's going to push and try to get that one shot left. 9 HP. NYPD moves across towards the bushes. Ertai tries to line up the shot. He gets over the hill, through the bushes, waiting just above the crest. No, still cannot line it up. Oh, the Bison misses.
And NYPD is going to get out of here. Now, what he can do is actually try to take out the Bison if he knows where it's coming from. You can see he's juking around, using the hills as cover, and making it really annoying for shots to go off. So there it goes. NYPD gets taken out. Ertai will take that kill. And because of that, EC will go up 2-1 in this series.
Yeah, that was a well-played match. I really loved that 1390 play at the end. He played it really well, taking advantage of the bush, hiding 20 meters behind it so that he doesn't get spotted when he's firing. He did a really good job at that. It's just really too bad that he couldn't get away.
Can you imagine how high the tensions were? Like, I got this. He's got 9 HP. And then you die, and you go, oh, come on, team. Don't let me down. Don't let me down. That was crazy.
Exciting. And for those of you that don't know already, camo is a factor in World of Tanks. And when you're sitting in a bush, it actually gives you a higher, it's called a coefficient, a camo coefficient, that enables or disables your opponents from really seeing you that transparently. And it's 15 meters. The range of 15 meters around you is, I guess, added up or summed.
Yeah, for me, when I'm actually playing, if I make sure that my enemy is, if the bush is opaque, if it's opaque, but I can still see the outline of my enemy and he's far away, he's outside the 50 meters or the 15 meters of visual penetration, that I can get the hit on him and he won't be able to see me. And that's what we saw with the AMX 1390.
Well, he was actually farther behind.
Yeah.
And that's important because if you shoot, it's like not even having those bushes there at all. Right? So he shoots a little bit before 15 meters, so he still has the camo. He shoots, and then he still has it afterwards, which is so valuable.
And that's why he was panicking in that moment, thinking, okay, I got hit from the left. Let me turn. I got hit again. Oh, no, that was close. And he had to pretty much reroute where he was going and headed towards his enemy. He was able to get the kill, though. All right, we want to get the next game underway as soon as possible. We're going to take a quick little break. We come back, the next match of Ermagerd Caernervern versus Hammer Time. Stay tuned. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Wargaming.net League North America World of Tanks. I'm Joshua Clutch Gray. Joining me on the set is Andre Gretorp Hengshua, and of course Randall Ruukil Holcomb. He's going to be getting the match underway here in just a sec. He's communicating to all of the team members to make sure everything is good to go, to make sure that they have the correct team lineup here before we get started. He's doing a great job, by the way, man. It's hard to admin and commentate and spectate and use the amazing telestrator, which to me is one of the coolest things we have here in the studio.
Yeah, it is fun. I get to draw little pictures everywhere.
That's why you get the big esports dollars, though.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's why I'm making the big bucks now. Yeah.
That's right. Well, Gretorp, as you mentioned before, being able to see the historical impact that each of these tanks had, as you described the last map, to me is completely fascinating. And I'm actually going up to San Francisco tomorrow to visit the Military Vehicle Technology Foundation to film a lot of the different tanks that are up there. The M4 Sherman's up there. The M4 Sherman Jumbo is up there, which is Mr. Bitter's favorite tank.
You said it wrong. It's the Jumbo Sherman.
Yeah, there's a song. There's a song we sing in the back when he just sits on his computer and he starts singing.
Hey.
We go, oh, he's doing well. He's doing well.
You want a tank complaint?
No.
The Jumbo Sherman.
We'll work on the song. Anyways, the Jumbo Sherman is one of my tanks I use in the lineup. So as soon as they're ready to go, we'll jump into the game here, folks.
Man, Clutch, I hate you. I'm actually really jealous. I wish I could come with you.
I know. We'll go another time.
We'll go another time.
I'm really excited for it, man, because...
Will it be a date?
Well, maybe. We'll see. We'll see. I'm not buying lunch, though.
I always have to buy lunch.
You do. You do. All right, Ruukil, we good to go for the tank selection?
They've picked the map. It's going to be
Ruinberg.
Oh.
Oh, yeah.
All right.
Yeah,
All right.
exactly.
Right
So
on.
let's talk a little about Ruinberg because, you know, I've played it a lot in pub matches. I've watched a couple games on Ruinberg, but how do you like this map overall?
Well, there's two choices to me when I play this in pub games or even with my friends. You have the courtyard side, the eastern side, with more of the open fields, and you have a couple of cottages and a small village on that side. Or you have the city side. And on the type of map engagement that it is, if it's encounter or if it's a standard battle, which we always play standard in the esports league, it really makes you wish that you could go back and pick a different tank sometimes. But as I said, I like to play a T-32. I've almost unlocked the M103. And being able to find good hold-down positions just outside of the city and to peek back and forth when other tanks, especially light tanks at the beginning, are cruising around the courtyard, that's my initial type of engagement I like to have. But it always varies, especially with the type of teammates you have. Sometimes you have really good teammates when you play on public, sometimes not as much, and you have to learn patience that my parents taught me very well when I was young, thankfully. And you know, from that, I look forward to see what kind of strategies these different players are going to use.
Absolutely. You know, I kind of feel like the north side on Ruinberg has a slight advantage. Of course, the number of games I've watched on this this map aren't too many. It's, you know, probably double digits, maybe 30, 40 games. But still, what I've seen is the eastern village, as you were talking about, it's a little bit closer to the northern side. That does mean that the northern side is able to get there a little bit faster and take cover over there. Now, the southern side doesn't have the best cover. And what ends up happening is you can kind of get an advantage on the western side. Doesn't mean that you have a win by any means, but that means you can kind of force your opponents into the city. And I feel like approaching the city when your opponents are in there is a little bit better because of, let's be honest, how many angles you can approach that city. I just feel like overall, it doesn't mean you're winning or losing, but you know, if you run it 1,000 times, maybe 550 times, maybe 530 times, you have that slight advantage.
That's a lot of times. Ruukil's giving me the indication that we're ready to go. Go ahead and start the map once you get the map loaded.
I was actually just going to say, why don't we take a look at the picks, because we're actually having a slight delay. So I was saying, why don't we take a look at those? I was liking the Bison pick, which actually indicates to me that Hammer Time intends to take the east side of the map. Using an arty like a Bison, you do have some nice shots in the city, but that tells me right now, I already know what their strat is. I know what side of the map they're going on, and that means Ermagerd Caernervern can actually build themselves against that. And they're actually bringing 4 5100s, 4 of them.
Whoa.
That is a lot of burst damage.
Well, let's talk real quick about what the actual stats are for the Bison. Now, this tank originally was made in Germany, built in 1940. Hit points, 120, not a whole lot. Top speed, 40 kilometers per hour, but it's not about speed for these guys. It's about the amount of damage they can do. 200, 300, 300 depending on the shell. Max penetration or potential penetration, 228. So people may be confused. Why is this tier 2 tank in this type of lineup? It can do some serious damage.
It hits like a truck, man.
It does.
For a tier 2.
It looks like we're ready to go. Ruukil, go and start off the match. But again, as you said, the 5100s, it's so many of them. But I look forward to see what kind of strategies you're going to have against that Bison.
Yep. Hammer Time is going to pick up that Bison, of course, as we were saying before. And they are spawning to the north side, so it makes a lot of sense. In my mind, obviously, they're a little bit closer to the eastern village. They're already pinging the eastern village. They're going there.
They are indicating. Let's go ahead and show you guys what Ruukil is all about.
Yep. All right. Just like we were talking about earlier, the map does split between the east and the west. So I'll show you that in just a second. Yeah.
It's definitely a ruined city.
Oh yeah. Bombed out. It's not in good condition. But it does have plenty of little cubby holes there. So, like I was saying a second ago, map is in two big parts, and you actually described this, city and then the field side. They're going to go across this open field, use that jump that they get from the north spawn, and take control of the city. I'm expecting to see tanks right in where I've circled there. And at the same time, I'm thinking Ermagerd Caernervern is going to play a little bit more conservatively. So, so go ahead and jump, and let's watch that scout make his runs.
Yep, T1's going to approach over here. I like it, and he's probably just going to rally around here, poke out, and see what's going on. This is just a confirmation to see what, in fact, we have from Hammer Time. They should have really realized what they're capable of doing, what they're strong at doing, of course, taking this open field with that Bison pickup. But it's just a confirmation. He's going to try to check and see what's going on. But they can definitely see the T1, at least Hammer Time can. And from here, how do they play it out? Now, a lot of times what they'll do is hug that ridge. If you can see, the road is actually on a little bit of an incline. So everything to the, I guess, to the west of that road, you can't see down there. So they're going to just push up along and then sweep the area across so that they can have that western map control. And if confrontations happen, it's in the middle. Bison can obviously do damage.
Oh, yeah, we're going to see a confrontation. All 4 5100s. Tommy. Drossett, they're going in.
T71 moving just outside of the range of the AMX 5100s, but one shot does go down from Durasta. Zazie takes a hit. First hit of the game, it looks like here. And Livestad is out in the open in that T69. Shots fired from Trouble 2. Gets the hit on Livestad. Barely does any damage. Actually just hits the track. And now the AMX 5100s are pushing in on these two people in a bad position right now.
Oh my god.
Dry hits the T69. Livestad, only one left alive in this scenario. And he goes down. Two tanks dead right off the bat here.
And Hammer Time wasn't able to use the AMX 5100s fast enough. They were just chilling back while the T69s were getting blown up. Really unfortunate, because now it's almost like they isolated the team. Hammer Time not able to pull the trigger fast enough, and because of that, they're looking to be quite far behind in this match.
This match could be over at this point. It could be cleanup, but while Durasa, Tommy, Vect, and Urtai are reloading, if Tanker and NYPD haven't fired all the shots, they might be able to get some free shots in there. Although Urtai isn't reloading, so he's going to be able to take some shots
at Durasa's HP right now, 895 out of 1400. He has taken a little bit of damage to his tracks. He's okay, though. He's ready to line up his shots. Now he's moving in against the other AMX 5100 NYPD. He is in some trouble. Ramming damage a little bit here. Not a whole lot, though, but Durasa's trying to pinpoint a shot close up from the rear. Tries to get the hit on NYPD. Is he waiting? Is he reloading? I can't tell why he's waiting to take the shot. Tommy Cannon, however, is able to take down Tanker 91. Gets the ramming damage once again. I have to think that he's trying to reload at this time, Ruukil. I don't know why he's waiting. Now he goes for the hit.
Yep, that's right.
Yeah, that long reload can be painful, especially when two 5100s are doing it. They just end up dancing and smashing each other. It's it can be pretty hilarious at times. The Bison is, well, he doesn't escape. I thought he was about to for me.
Durasta made the most of that reload after he had his 6 shells ready to go. Gets 2 kills out of that engagement. Very nice work. Now he's going to parade across the battlefield, looking left and right, very triumphant and proud for his achievement here. I'm sure he's very happy over TeamSpeak, talking to his different teammates. And only one tank left alive, the T1, Declan of Death. As soon as he goes down, or these tanks are able to capture it, even the time runs out, it's going to be a victory for Team Blue.
Yes, sir. Declan of Death. You know, I have to question this. I'm going to actually ask you, Ruukil. Were the T1 that was used, was this correctly used? Because I feel like he should have been the one flanking up to check for those type of attacks. I mean, that's one of the only attacks that you have to really be careful of. Of course, you know, EC isn't going to attack in the open field, so covering that flank all the way to the, I guess, the southeastern side is like the #1 thing you have to check for if you're taking village.
T71 is spotted.
Possibly,
man.
but remember
Wait for
when
the
I was
shot.
saying earlier about that bison being showing me the hammer time strat?
Friendly fire.
Oh.
Tommy Cannon 69 hits Terrasta. Sorry to interrupt you, Ruukil. I just want to point that out real quick. What were you saying?
No. Yeah, remember when I was talking about that bison really telegraphing their whole strat? When that happened, they Ermagerd Caernervern was able to say, you know what, we know what they're going to do, we know where they're going to be, let's book it down the 0 line, and let's catch them by surprise, which they did.
Yes.
Caught 2 T-69s out, and that was fantastic. That was actually a really good move. That was completely unexpected. Hammer Time was probably thinking, they know our strat, but because we have an arty, they won't come at us out there. They'll go to the city or something, and they didn't. And that was great. That was a really good play. It was really smart head games right there.
And actually, the T1, if we go back to the very beginning where the T1 was spotted by EC, it was positioned in a place where it kind of retreated back into the city. So it feels like, okay, they're protecting the city as much as possible. It's kind of postured up. There could have been other, I'm pretty sure there's other farther up areas that T1 could have gone to. Am I wrong?
Possibly, but you know, let's not be too aggressive right at the beginning of the match. That kind of mentality.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Alrighty. Well, that's the end of the match, correct? 3-2?
That was 3 for Ermagerd Caernervern. They win the match. They take it.
They move on
Ermagerd
to the round of 64. Ermagerd Caernervern. I hope they make it because that's quite a name to pronounce, especially the finals, man. We're going to take a quick little break. We come back. Match number 2. Don't go anywhere.